Welcome to Buddha School. I'm Jess here again, and this time with another translation from my master Luang Pa Pramote. This is from January 26th, 2020, when he was in Bangkok. The translation will be from Thai to English, and a reminder that it's possible I make some mistakes in the translation, so any mistakes are the sole responsibility of me, the translator. And also, I'm not going to be able to catch absolutely every word he says because I'm doing this as a live simultaneous translation for you today. So he starts off by mentioning that it is the Chinese New Year period, and he says that many different cultures, including the Chinese, like to pay homage to ancestors and like to pay homage to gods or heavenly beings or spirits of some kind, and that's common in the world, and that's fine as part of our cultures. However, it is the Dhamma that is of utmost importance. So let's begin from there.
สิ่งสำคัญนะไม่ว่าจะตรุษจีนหรือเมื่อไหร่ก็ตามที่พวกเราไม่ควรละเลย
So the thing we must never neglect the Dhamma.
พยายามศึกษาพยายามปฏิบัติ
Let's try to practice and study this Dhamma, and what we will get is true happiness, true freedom,
ที่ยิ่งใหญ่
the highest freedom.
เราอยู่กับโลก
When we're in the world, sometimes it seems like we have comfort from the world. Sometimes we struggle. Some people struggle. But true practitioners of the Dhamma will see the truth that there really isn't anybody that has any real, genuine happiness. There's struggles, there are things that are causing stress all of the time. The suffering of the world is like waves crashing against the shore again and again to no end. So how is it that we can then transcend the world, achieve lokutara, as it's called in Pali, above the world or transcending the world? We all have the opportunity to transcend the world because we have listened to the Buddha's Dhamma and we are studying it here. Suffering is something right here in our own body and our own mind. The Buddha didn't teach us to evade or run away from suffering. The Buddha taught us to face suffering, learn the suffering of this body and mind. This world has so many different details, and it's a very complex place. It is a place filled with struggle, and it is only in this body and mind where we will find our liberation. Let's try to study this body and mind as much as we can. Learn the truth of these things. The mind is a natural phenomenon that has the function of knowing objects. If we're going to know a sight, something that we see, we use the eyes for that as a tool. And if we're going to hear a sound, we use the ears as the tool. If we're going to use a scent, we use the nose. A taste or a flavor, we use the tongue. or the tactile sense, noticing something is hot, is cold, is soft, is hard. We use the body touching or making contact with the world. See, all of these things, these senses, are using the body and its sense organs as a tool to make contact with the world. The mind is the natural or bare awareness of sense objects. And the truth is that this mind is a beautiful and bright thing, and when it just does its function, then there's really no suffering. However, what happens is there are defilements that taint or manipulate, come in and manipulate the mind. And then when we think, the thoughts are muddled with defilements. When we speak, that defilements have taken over the mind, manipulate it, and then the defilements are ordering this mind to do the different things that it does, to think, to speak, and to act. So this natural awareness of objects, this mind, is just a natural phenomenon, but it becomes tainted by the defilements. Notice when we're thinking that we usually are thinking in a self-centered way, us at the center, and having a bias towards ourself and our own opinions. So when we think, we're thinking from a misunderstanding. We're coming from this me when we think, right? So if we feel angry, then this angry mood is affecting our thoughts. There's a big strong I in there. And even when we're just a little ticked off, then maybe there's a little bit of a strong me in there in the thoughts. We can get a sense of the I or the me that we call ourselves in our thoughts that we're coming from, and get a sense if sometimes we are acting as if we are special to ourselves. The I has a special feeling about ourselves, and sometimes it has less of a special feeling about ourselves, but it is always surrounding us and our thoughts and analysis. It's misunderstanding that there is a self in this body and mind. And thinking, coming from these misunderstandings, like this body of ours, right, that we can feel sitting here. We think that this body is me, or think that it belongs to me. When our defilements are strong, we think that we are this body. When the defilements are a little less strong, the body is ours or belongs to us. Those of us that are able to separate the body and mind in our Dhamma practice, we can get a sense that we aren't the body. Who here is able to see that we aren't the body? Well, there are quite a few of us. That means that we're able to separate the aggregates, see that the body is sitting, breathing, standing, lying down, moving, sitting still, and whatever it might be doing, it is just that which is known or observed. We'll sense that we are not the body, but we still will feel that the body belongs to us. It's our body. When the body is us, it becomes really, really important, right? But when it becomes ours, it's still important, but it's a little less important. It's like our home, like a home. So we have this warped sense of our warped view, or a misunderstanding, wrong view of the way things really are. And we're solidifying that over and over with all these thoughts about surrounding me, feeling that there really is a me. But that's thinking with wrong view. Like if we ask some of the monks here, the monks, when they think of themselves, are they thinking of themselves as a monk in their own thoughts? No, they're just thinking, I'm going here, I have to do that, right? They're not like, this monk must do this or do that. But there's a sense of me, right? A me in there, not just a monk is going to perform this action. A monk will eat now, right? It's me. But can't we see when we're in a really natural setting that's vast scenery, like we're on top of a mountain or in front of a river, and we look out and we get a sense of how big the world is or the universe is and how small and insignificant we are? We might have had that experience. When we feel that there's danger if we're out in nature, sometimes our ego takes a bit of a hit. We won't sense that we're all that special or all that important anymore when we're faced with danger or death approaching. When we have these wrong views perpetuating themselves, this false sense of importance, again and again, this warped view, it's called michaditi, or wrong view. And unenlightened folks who haven't achieved stream entry yet will all still believe that there is a me here. So we need to practice the Dhamma and in this body, in this mind, and see that this body and mind do not have a me in them. They aren't a me. Like this body, for example, is it us? We just take a look at this body and see that we're ingesting elements, bringing foods in, and then we excrete elements and urinate elements. When we breathe in, we're breathing in elements, and when we breathe out, elements are leaving. Drinking, and we urinate, elements enter the body, and elements exit the body all the time. The body is just a mass of elements, and we're borrowing these elements from the world. We borrowed these elements from our parents, right? We borrowed the semen and the egg from our parents, and then we relied on food and milk and water and all these other elements of the earth. So there's like a circulation of elements moving. when we're born, more elements circulating, ingesting the milk, ingesting the food, and sending out elements and bringing elements in. And so this is all things that belong to the world. So we're taking in food, which are elements of the world, and we excrete elements of the world. And eventually, we have to return this body to the world when we die. But all day long, we are trading elements or borrowing the world, elements of the world, and then returning them. It just circulates like this, goes around and around all our lives. This body is not us. We're just borrowing this body from the earth, and then one day we have to give it back to its owner. We can't really keep it. So keep seeing this body as it is, as frequently as we can, and we'll see that the body is not a person, and we'll start to think in a more correct way. We won't see this body as me, and we'll start to have right view, see things as they are. Now this mind of ours, we actually think is us in an even more tight or pronounced way than we think the body is us. The Buddha even mentioned that those that haven't listened to the Buddha's teachings some are able to see that we aren't the body, but they are not able to see that the mind isn't us either. That requires hearing Dhamma. So at first we think that we are this body, and then as we continue to practice, we see that the body is something that belongs to us, but it isn't us. And then as we continue to practice, and the practice gets stronger, we start to see that actually the body is just something we're borrowing. It doesn't even belong to us. As far as the mind is concerned, one moment the mind is greedy, the next it has aversion, the next it's deluded. Is it really us, this mind? If it's ours, shouldn't we be able to command or order what we are going to feel into existence? But we can't, can we? We can't order the mind to give us happiness, make happiness arise now, please, or suffering, go away. It doesn't listen to us, right? Can we ask our mind, okay, don't be greedy? Like if we're going to go, right? If we're going to go shopping, we say, okay, let's not be greedy this time when we go shopping, right? Can we really order it to do that, right? It goes into the mall and it likes what it sees, it wants it, and it takes it home. How many times do we, in a lot of cases, there are women whose man has cheated on them, and they leave him and say, I'm never going to believe this man, I can't trust this man, right? I'll never believe him, I won't trust him. But what happens? Eventually, they start to trust him again, believe him again. They love him. Take him back, right? The mind isn't something that is under our control. It is non-self. We can't control it. We can't truly control it. So let's have mindfulness that is aware of what arises in our mind, like greed arises, no so. Aversion arises, no so. Delusion arises, no so. Happy, unhappy, good, bad, whatever arises in the mind, know what has arisen, and we'll see that these are just temporary states or phenomena that arise, that come and then they go. all types of feelings, whether they're good or bad, happy or sad, have stress or suffering oppressing them to fall away. Whenever suffering arises, we don't have to be shocked, because it's not going to last forever. It isn't permanent. When suffering arises and we have mindfulness that sees it, we'll see that the suffering has stress oppressing it, making it moving towards disappearing. And the happy mind is under stress to disappear, and the unhappy mind is under stress or oppression to disappear. So the mind, greedy, angry, deluded, are all under oppression and are all under stress to disappear. Every mind or every state of mind arises and then falls away. That's impermanence. And whatever state is there right now is under oppression to disappear, and that is the characteristic of unsatisfactoriness or dukkha. And then the fact that if we're angry and then we try to order the mind, don't be angry, right? It doesn't listen, right? It's not under any power to control. The truth is that there has been a process that made the anger arise. We made contact with a sense object, or an object, a mental object or a sense object that we weren't pleased with, right? It has a cause. Every phenomenon has a cause, or a set of, there was a process that made it arise. So when there is an object that we are displeased with, then anger arises, or aversion of some kind arises. Some people are easily irritated, so then when their eyes or ears make contact with the world and they see and smell and taste and hear things, then anger comes up quite often. It comes up as a result of the cause of making the sense contact. It isn't even craving or love. That's something that comes up and didn't come up because we ordered it to come up. It comes up out of its cause. The cause for greed to come up, or craving to come up, is because we make contact with an object that pleases us. Right? I want this, I want that, I want to get this, I love that. That all comes from its own causes when the greed and craving and wanting arise, not because we ordered it to. Mindfulness also has its causes to arise, and the cause for mindfulness to arise is having a precise recollection or memory of different mental and physical phenomena. And so we have to practice getting very familiar with different physical and mental phenomena in order for the mindfulness to have the right causes to arise. So practicing mindfulness of the body and mind, we practice not constantly, but we practice frequently. We see and get familiar with different states, and the mind starts to be able to become so familiar with the different states that arise that mindfulness will start to arise on its own. Oh, happiness comes up, and then, oh, happy again. Unhappiness comes up, oh, unhappiness again. Soon enough, true mindfulness will arise, which is an automatic mindfulness, and nobody can order the mind to become mindful. It comes out of its causes. we see on labels of alcohol that says this makes you not be mindful when you drink it. Right? It doesn't mean that when we don't drink alcohol we're going to be mindful, and when we're careful when we're driving or mindful of our driving, that doesn't mean real mindfulness is going to arise. We can't make mindfulness arise on its own. It doesn't arise just as a fluke. It arises from the causes that make it arise. So, for example, when the mind wanders off, let's get familiar with that state of the mind wandering off. Let's get familiar with it and see the mind. Mind goes off, no so, mind goes off, no so, mind goes off, no so, until it really remembers that state very clearly, what that's like. Some people, it takes a long time before they're able to notice when their mind wanders off. But those people that have never practiced or don't practice at all, then their mind has wandered off once. It's wandered off the entire day from when you wake up until fall asleep. So why is it that so many people that are practicing with me are now able to see the mind that wanders off really, really quickly, moves off and they know so, moves off and they know so? That's because they've been practicing to get familiar with that state, seeing it very often when it happens. But we don't have to do it all the time. We can't do it all the time. But who here has been able to see that their mind wanders off and then mindfulness automatically recognizes it? Who has had that experience? Oh, a lot of us have. So that's not a small thing. That's pretty an amazing experience to be able to have automatic mindfulness that sees the mind wander off and the wandering stops. The mind that wanders off is the defilement of delusion, the delusion defilement. And the delusion defilement is the mother of the other defilements of greed and aversion, because we have to be deluded first, or our mind has to wander off first before before anger and aversion can arise. The Buddha taught that it is because we see the truth that we get dispassionate towards all formations, and once we are dispassionate, then we release, and when we release, liberate, we know that we have liberated, and the world has been transcended, and there's no work left to be done. That suffering has been extinguished. This ends the work in Buddhism. It's not like working in the world. There's no end to working in the world, right? You sweep the floor, and of course you have to sweep again next time too. We're hungry and we have to find something to eat, and then tomorrow we have to do the same again. There's no end to the work and responsibilities in the world. But in Buddhism there is an end to the work. So I'm going to stop it there, as now it moves into a different topic, but I hope you really enjoyed this, and please remember to subscribe, and please remember to like this so I can continue doing this work for everybody. Thank you for listening, and tune in again next time on Buddhist School.